To Aviation Avi, go where you feel the most alive. If you haven't yet subscribed to Aviation Avi and you're watching this video, please go and subscribe to Aviation Avi because this is the channel that discusses most untouched topics in the field of aviation and makes them easier for you. And today we are up with another video on operational readiness and airport transfer, that is ORAT. We'll discuss the concept behind ORAT, how was ORAT developed, what are the steps involved in carrying out a successful ORAT, and what are the key things one must keep in mind while carrying out ORAT. So without any delay, let's get started. Let us start with the concept of ORAT. When new operational spaces get ready to open at an airport following months and years of construction, these new spaces require new passenger flows, new employee routes, and areas of work, introducing new systems and processes. How do we ensure that the people who need to operate in these spaces are ready, trained, and familiar? How do we make sure that all the systems, processes related to these new spaces have been properly tested and trialed? How do we ensure that everyone is prepared for the opening day and that they have planned to move into a new space? Well, one thing we need to understand here is under no circumstance does construction readiness mean operational readiness. When a contractor says construction is finished, you have to add between 3 months and up to a year or even longer in order to reach operational readiness, and this is the driving force behind ORAT. Thus, ORAT is transitioning from construction readiness to operational readiness such that there are no surprises on the day of opening. Now that we have understood the concept behind ORAT, let us look at what is the need for ORAT. To understand this, let us look at the example of Heathrow T5, which was built for the BAA and British Airways. The new terminal would mean a fresh start for Heathrow. But on the day of opening, British Airways was forced to cancel 34 short-haul flights, domestic flights, and had to admit that despite lots of rehearsals, there had been problems with staff familiarization with the terminal. Heathrow T5 had faced problems with baggage systems, security, parking systems that had led to both passenger and staff having problem locating their cars, long wait times with baggage due to clogged conveyor belts, and all the check-ins at T5 were suspended. Another such case would be that of the Denver airport that was elected to construct a new state-of-the-art airport that would cement Denver's position as an air transportation hub. Covering a land area of 140 square kilometer, the airport was to be the largest in the United States and had the capacity to handle more than 50 million passengers per annum. The airport's baggage handling system was a critical component in the plan. By automating baggage handling, aircraft turnaround time was to be reduced to as little as 30 minutes. But thanks to mainly the problems in the baggage handling system, the airport's opening was delayed by a full 16 months. Expenditure to maintain the empty airport and interest charges on the construction loans cost the city of Denver millions of dollars. So, this definitely proves that under no circumstances does construction readiness means operational readiness. And here comes the concept of ORAT. Thus, we could understand that airport complexity demands ORAT. Increasingly complex, deeply integrated airport systems add to the challenge of transitioning to operational readiness from construction readiness. The previous standalone applications for flight information and check-in are a thing of the past. They have been replaced by FIDS or the Flight Information Display System and Common User Terminal equipment that are ultimately linked to the airport's operational database and many other vital parts of the infrastructure. Here you can see the Flight Information Display System, that is a complex system that displays all required flight details to the passengers. Where an operator has to move from manually to fully automated baggage handling, it is not just technology that has to work properly. A labor force used to simply throwing bags into the cart or onto the belt suddenly has to deal with state of the art machinery. This requires adequate time and resource to familiarize staff to operate on such systems and identify faults and rectify them before the system goes live. Now that we have understood the concept and the need for ORAT, let us look at the key steps involved while carrying out ORAT. The ORAT starts with governance, or what in the military they may call command and control. This means establishing outcome targets and KPIs and organizational structure for authority, responsibility, escalations, and decision making, a plan for communication, and rules for engagement of all stakeholders. Governance can be broken down into the following components and checkpoints. The first is the Executive Steering Committee, or the ESC, that is responsible for setting targets and KPIs. It identifies the ORAT delivery model and leadership. It serves as a final resolution layer. It communicates the importance of the ORAT team's work to all the stakeholders, including the project team. It provides air support for the ORAT team throughout the delivery process. The second is the issue resolution ladder. Set at the ESC level, the process for escalating issue resolution and sorting out competing priorities. Third is change management protocol. There may be changes in their plan at any stage of the project. So, laying out steps that must be followed in order to make changes after design approval is done as per the change management protocol that must be in place under governance. The fourth is the risk management or mitigation protocol for managing what can go wrong and developing a basis for determining when risks have been mitigated to an acceptable level. The fifth is communications protocol, which ensures that teams collaborate with one another and the external messages are consistent and distributed by appropriate sources. And the sixth or the last is progress tracking and reporting, which is very important governance, establishes the function specific cadences and a single source of truth for providing progress reporting and insights throughout the entire project. These are the points to be kept in mind under governance. The next step is to create operational concept, or the CONOPS. Writing down the vision of how the operator wants to run the new building is CONOPS. What is being done, where, by whom and when? What are the critical interferences? It might be hard to believe, but this is rarely in place when the operator wants to start the ORAT project. The next is CONOPS is developed through a combination of stakeholder input, industry standards, regulatory requirement, and budget. Ideally, it should be built into the design criteria and then adjusted as necessary to accommodate unexpected circumstances like COVID. However, the CONOPS must also take into account the technology that will drive the process. The working group or specific stakeholders use CONOPS as the basis for determining what procedures apply to the project and what need to be modified or created. They will also typically take the responsibility for making the modifications or writing the new procedures. This process should be collaborative and done as early as possible because it forces the stakeholders to think throughout how they will test during trials and the ability to function while using SOPs as a standard. It is important to understand that SOPs are living documents. As the project moves forward, stakeholders inevitably find gaps in operations and adjust SOPs accordingly. The advantage of this approach is that it yields high quality SOPs and trials can be built against it. This is the concept behind developing the CONOPS, or the operational concept, or concept of operations one may call. Next comes training and familiarization, checking there is adequate training, documentation to educate staff in these new processes, concepts, and technical systems. They also ensure that operators' workforce receive all the training they are contractually entitled to and develop a welcoming program for the new terminal. The familiarization process, or the FAM training, introduces stakeholders to the facility and functions at various stages of the project. For obvious reason, this means the construction schedule will drive the timing of FAM process. The familiarization process or the FAM training introduces stakeholders to the facility and the functions at various stages of the project. For obvious reason, this means that construction schedule will drive the timing of FAM training or the FAM process. Next is training. Training typically involves two distinct types of training. First is the induction training and next is operational and maintenance training. Induction training is primarily focused on making sure the end users understand their roles and responsibilities in the context of the new facility and with equipment and procedures are involved in their work. Induction training is often conducted by SMEs or subject matter expertise from the ORAT team or stakeholder organizations. The operation and maintenance training, on the other hand, is focused on providing the appropriate stakeholders and the facilities maintenance and management with technical training. Such training includes the work required to optimally operate and maintain various equipment, systems, and facilities over the life of the finished product. Typically, O&M training is the contractual responsibility of the general contractor, but the ORAT team needs to coordinate with stakeholders and track progress, quality, and timing of the training. Integrated system trials. Trials offer the best opportunity to surface and resolve the types of problems that can cause opening day disasters. Thus, they should be well timed around the substantial completion date and allocated enough time prior to the opening day for the ORAT team to properly trial all necessary operational scenarios. Depending on the project trial, should be organized and executed in a prescribed progression. Initial, basic trials that identify and correct issues with a single system, equipment, process, or scenario. Second, advanced trials where combination of basic elements and flows are trialed. Also, it provides opportunity to validate, correct issues from previous basic trials. The third is the integrated trials or simulations involved end-to-end integrated operational scenarios and flows as they are integrated to function on the opening day. Issues identified here are evaluated for criticality, they are assigned a priority, and after actions are determined and assigned. For many airports, the integrated trial or simulation exercise is the go-on-go decision point for opening day. The ORAT team plans a script of each trial down to the very last detail, from the staff involved and flight schedule to sourcing of dummy bags and test passengers, and even arranging temporary catering. Some things that can go wrong are the sophisticated security doors that separate the airport's airside from landside often exhibit teething problems. With numerous complex electrical connections, magnets, and sensitive ID card readers, they must work seamlessly with the access control system and its database of all new ID batches. To add to the challenge, many different stakeholders are involved: security authorities, police, the system provider, and the airport operators. The IDs of all the stakeholders involved must be incorporated into the system. Further, complex fire safety and protection systems are another common area of problem. In airport buildings that might be more than 30-meter high with 9 different levels, all the sprinklers and smoke extraction intakes need to be accurately located at thousands of different points, and the sprinkler system must be integrated to the alarm systems. All these are objectively looked into during the trials. The last step is transitioning to operations. The transition to operations is the most visible and often the most intense time for stakeholders and the ORAT team. Physical relocation is always a major challenge, but opening day puts the entire project in public spotlight. The transition experience will benefit greatly from a well-executed ORAT program and significant planning and coordination that it drives. The goal here is a smooth transition into surprise-free, smooth startup operations with no embarrassing failures. With potentially hundreds of different companies involved, the team must bring together everyone from the lady in the flower shop to the ground handling company to ensure they will all be ready to move when required. They decide which airline should go first, and whether to shift operations in a single day or night, or to choose a soft launch or soft opening over weeks or even months instead. Some construction companies do offer ORAT services themselves, but definitely there is a need for an independent system. The ORAT team should challenge the contractors on behalf of the operator, ensuring that they have delivered what they have been contracted to deliver, that the system's technical specifications are correct, and that they are working adequately. The final stages of ORAT involves taking the boots, helmets, and the safety jackets and bringing them to use, patrolling the terminal and airside facilities, getting into the dirt, climbing those stairs, those baggage handling system, and focusing on every single detail to make sure the airport is ready on time. Post opening support. Despite the enormous focus on the opening day, the work isn't completed from the ORAT perspective. In order to ensure a high quality handover experience to stakeholders, often there are still key O&M deliverables that must be managed carefully. Even if opening day was an enormous success, it is likely that there are still outstanding issues that need to be remediated. Ones that either were deferred because they were not critical to the go live, or new issues that surfaced on or as soon as there was the opening day. So, this is all about operational readiness and airport transfer that involves transitioning from construction readiness to operational readiness. If you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe, and share it with all aviation enthusiasts because your support is our motivation. You can follow us on LinkedIn. The link of our profiles will be given in the description. For any queries regarding ORAT or any other videos on our channel, you can comment down below and we'll try our best to solve those queries. This is Anvesha Pal signing off.